You won't believe what happened next. It started on a Tuesday, of all the nights in the world, a Tuesday, the kind that lands heavy like humid breath when the streets of Oak Haven sigh under streetlights that whisper, tomorrow. The Rusty Mug wasn't a place you came across by accident. It was invisible, like a bruise, clinging to the edge of town with sticky floors, a jukebox that only knew heartache through a scratchy speaker, and an air perfumed by spilled beer and regret. Its patrons were the kind of people who loved the past and feared the future. A few factory guys from Cleveland Cliffs nursing beers and ghosts, and S behind the bar, whose face mapped every bad decision he'd ever seen. That night, something shifted. A woman who didn't belong set foot across that sticky floor. But before I tell you how it looked from the outside, you need to know how it felt from the inside. She moved with precise economy of motion like it was second nature, because maybe it was. 28, medium height, spine straight, jeans and a gray long-sleeve shirt like she meant business. Subtle, unassuming, and in no way ordinary. Her hair was pulled back so tightly it looked like it might crack under pressure, her face a mask of serene neutrality. She ordered a club soda with lime, paid in cash, and slid into a booth with her back to the wall. Tactical. Always tactical. You learn not to blink when the chaos is silent. She pulled out her phone, and an almost imperceptible smile curved her lips as she read a message. She waited for her friend, Maya, who was finishing a shift at the clinic across town. A rare moment of normal, and for someone like her, someone who'd spent 2 tours in Helmand Province, the quiet was still something she was decoding. Then the bell crashed open the door like someone dropped a bomb in the jukebox. Rick Wrecking Ball Miller swaggered in, skin stretched over a gut that struggled against the pressure, leather vest straining, beard braided with skulls like trophies of insecurity. He believed he was a Viking king in a crummy bar kingdom. Behind him waddled Greasy Phil, whose nickname was still too generous, and Tiny Tim, whose name was irony in 5 letters. They slurped swagger and oxygen. Rick hollered at S, "Line 'em up, the serpents are thirsty." And the room shifted. The factory guys slumped further, the jukebox hesitated, and the air clenched with cheap bravado. The woman in the corner didn't look up, but she saw everything, how they swaggered, how they took up space, how they thought noise equaled strength. Bullies are always the same, just with different uniforms. Rick's predator gaze swept the room, found the only person not giving him the shine, a quiet woman, then turned to Phil. "Check that out," he said. "We got new scenery." Phil leered. "She doesn't look like she belongs here." Rick's voice dropped to a growl. "Nope, not at all." He tilted his shot glass and made his move. S paused mid-wipe. A knot tightened in his stomach. He knew how these episodes ended. The woman, Alani, thumb stopped scrolling. Her nerves, primed by years of training, shifted into something sharper. Her gaze stayed glued to the screen, calming herself, inhaling the stillness before the storm arrived in drunken Viking form. Rick loomed. Thick shadow swallowed her light. He waited, waiting for that dramatic moment where the target looks up, sees the fear, hears the gulp, and the bully feels that itch of triumph. But she stayed calm, her thumb still, spine still. When he spoke, it came out greasy. "You lost, sweetheart?" She finished reading her message, sipped club soda, plain, and lifted her eyes. Not a flicker of fear. Her voice was flat, like water in a cave. "No, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." That quiet defiance lit him on fire. Rick's chest puffed out, ego on parade. "This ain't a coffee shop. This is my bar, my territory." She tilted her head, same neutral tone. "It's a bar, and I paid for my drink." Behind them, the room shifted. The intimidation flickered off. Rick leaned further in, smelling like stale whiskey. "We don't like your kind here. You're making my boys uncomfortable." The racism was casual, ugly, like a spoonful of poison in a whiskey shot. Alani didn't shift. She flicked her gaze to the exit. Calm, precise. 3 people, not a stretch. 1 main threat. 2 hangers-on. She didn't rise to the bait. She offered a non-threatening exit. "I'll be leaving soon. Just waiting for a friend." That should have disarmed him, but bullies confuse compliance with weakness. Rick snarled, "No, you'll leave now." His fist grabbed the collar of her shirt, ripping it open with a violent sound that echoed like a gunshot. Cheap cotton surrendered in 2 strips, revealing black sports bra, a chest anchored by lived battles, not a war story, but a symbol. Inside, the room went silent. Alani didn't flinch. She didn't scream. She just sat. And that's when the tattoo was revealed. In the rusty glow, ink darker than night. A human skull head-on, crossed anchors underneath, eagle's wings outstretched, eagle globe anchor of the Marine Corps woven in, banner reading Recon. Not just a design, force reconnaissance. Skulls, death faced and conquered. Anchors, saltwater roots, Navy connection, wings, airborne toughness, eagle, globe, anchor, the sacred bond to the core. This was no fashion statement. It was blood and faith in ink. The bar changed. Greasy Phil whistled. Half laughter, half sob. Tiny Tim recoiled, not into fear, but shock. S clutched a bar towel like a lifeline. Somebody had brought the sacred into profane territory. And across the floor, a man with a single bourbon sat, watching. No smiles, no applause. Just recognition crackling in his eyes. Rick's smirk dissolved. His brain, fuzzy with booze, searched his memory for a shred of context, found none. He realized he had terrorized someone who'd breezed through worse storms. He had just dented something unbreakable. Alani spoke, calm and cutting. "My name is Sergeant Alani Davis, United States Marine Corps. Friends call me Laney. You can call me Sergeant." Every word landed like a hammer. The veneer popped. Angry big man, zero authority. He stared, disbelief flooding in. And the room? It exhaled, not with noise, with stillness. She rose, deliberate, fluid, shirt torn, tattoo on display. "You put your hands on me. You damaged my property in front of witnesses. You have 2 choices. We settle this right here, or you leave." No threat, just fact and resolve. Rick looked into her eyes, wild and steady. There was no bluff. His ego, freshly dipped in shame, sagged. He turned and walked toward the exit. Not a roar, but a mortification. His cronies scurried behind him, unwanted and unanchored. Bell jingled mournfully as they fled. Silence remade itself into something else. Respect. The jukebox sputtered, then began a soft melody like the room breathing again. One factory worker exhaled into his beer. "Well, I'll be damned." S moved again, quietly hero enough to respect women like Alani. He brought a fresh black t-shirt, rusty mug logo, and smiled. "Sergeant," he started, corrected himself. "This is on the house. Whatever you and your friend want, on me." She nodded, accepted the shirt. Slipped it on. Torn gray lay like an old life on the floor. A college kid at the bar, textbook half clutched, came close. "Excuse me, are you okay?" Alani softened. "I'm fine, thank you." That was... wow. My granddad was a Marine. He would have loved seeing how you handled that. Alani offered her first smile of the night. A real one. "Thank you." Maya, in scrubs, burst in. "Lonnie, why did you say trouble?" She rose, shrugged on her shirt. "Handled. That's all you need to know." They hugged. The cornerman, the older veteran, stood, walked to her table, nodded, then left. No words. But what he'd offered was respect beyond verbal currency. That night, a kid went home and wrote on the local Reddit, "You won't believe what happened at the Rusty Mug." And the story spread like fire. Disguised bullies, Marine tattoos, justice. Screenshots reached veterans groups on Facebook. The internet did what the internet does: memes, mockery, laughter. Rick Miller became a parody. A kitten playing with a toy soldier printed under Rick Meets Recon. A tricycle photoshopped with club patches. The joke wasn't against marine culture, it was against people who pretend to represent something they don't deserve. Rick's phone exploded. But his wrath only fed the fire. Bigger clubs, vets with real scars, stepped in. He got a call. Heard about the Serpents in Oak Haven? Iron Serpent's president got punked by a recon Marine. That doesn't fly. Stay off the road. Don't wear your patch around Cleveland again. He hung up in silence. Blacklisted. But here's where real karma leaks into the real world outside social media. That quieter man, Arthur Peterson, didn't need likes or shares. He had a network with deep roots and thick wires. He didn't tweet, he called. His first call to David Chen, head of security, said, "Get me everything on Rick Miller. Work history, bank accounts, addresses, by morning." Second call, retired General Mark Ramsey. "I witnessed that woman tonight. Recon. Need to get her any support she doesn't know exists. Quietly." By dawn, dossiers sat on desks. Rick's life wasn't a fortress. It was built of paper trails and shaky bravado. Foreman at JMH, rent-to-own house, club leased through trust, and that trust had big Peterson Logistics ties. Arthur called Jonathan Harding, CEO of JMH. "Your foreman assaulted a Marine sergeant," he said crisply. "Embarrassing. Liability. It's happening." Silence. Then, "Thank you. I'll handle it personally." Next call, property management. "Your tenant is a public nuisance. Lease clause violation. Time to reconsider tenancy." Arthur didn't yell. Quietly, he broke Rick's wings. 2 days after the mug, Rick staggered into work, hungover and hollow. His crew withheld respect. He tried to bark orders over jackhammers. They watched mute. Then came a black sedan. The CEO got out, immaculate, wordless. "My office," he said, and sent Rick inside. He tried to explain. Misunderstanding. But the CEO had context. His father flew for medevac. He knew recon meant ghosts. You attacked someone doing your job. That's unforgivable. Rick got an envelope. Final check, severance if he signed NDA. And he was fired. Deflated, box in hand, he stepped into empty contempt. Back at the club, Rick tried to rally a meeting. Defiance? Denial? Just 2 suits showed up. Civil, cold. "You're evicted," they told him. "Lease violation, 30 days. The ragtag brotherhood unraveled. "I got a kid," Greasy Phil said. Tiny Tim nodded. Vests went into closets. Oak Haven watched. Doors closed. Job interviews ended cheap every time someone Googled his name. At gas stations, a teen in a Marine hoodie stared so long, Rick peered back in shame. He spent nights angry at his reflection. The vest on the door hung like a costume in an empty cinema. He had built everything on bellies and threats. A quiet woman with a tattoo shattered it without a fist fight. Meanwhile, the rusty mug changed. It became a legend. Students, veterans, locals curious for a story sat at the bar. S polished the counter and retold it. No flash, no embellishment, just the truth about quiet strength. 1 month later, Alani sat back in her corner, laughing with Maya. Footsteps clicked behind her. Arthur walked in, bourbon in hand. He approached her booth. "Sergeant Davis," he said simply. "I never properly introduced myself that night." Alani gestured to a seat. "I appreciate you being here." "When you're young, service is one thing," he said. "Older, luck gives you new ways to serve, through community and action. That night, you embodied everything that man pretended to stand for." He placed a crisp bill on the table. "For you, your friend, and any veterans who come through, S knows the arrangement. Thank you." She looked at the money, then at him, then around a bar full of life. She smiled, that real one. Under her new shirt, her skin still held that story. But the real victory wasn't ink. It was peace. Now tell me, did the karma Rick got seem fair or harsh? If you were a Lanny, how would you have handled that moment? Drop it below. I read every word. If this story hit you where it counts, hit like, share it. Maybe someone who craves seeing strength in quiet places, and subscribe for more stories where the loudest power doesn't roar. Thanks for staying with me.